Hi boys and girls. In this video I'm going to be doing your math chapter 14 review page with you. So if you want to open up your math book, it begins on page 557, and once you have your book ready to go, we can begin. If you are already ready to go, you don't even need to pause this video while you do that. You can just look at the paper in front of you. So at the top of the chapter 14 review, you can put your name and number where it says name. And then for number 1, it says draw a line or lines in the circle to make halves. Now remember, we've been learning about halves and fourths, and we know that halves is when we break something into 2 equal sections, and fourths is when we break them into 4 equal sections. And so sorry, I'm trying to get the right markers here ready to go. So for this one, it is a circle, and they want you to break it in half. So to do that, you could either come straight down and have 2 equal pieces. You could also go straight across, or you could go on a diagonal. And in reality, if we were to rotate these circles, they're all really the same, breaking it into 2 sides, 2 half circles, which are equal in size and shape. Okay, so that's what you should do for number 1. Remember, halves is 2. Okay, looking at number 2, it says draw a line or lines in the rectangle to make fourths. So there's a couple different ways. If we had some rectangles, I'll put a couple of rectangles here so I can show you that there's a couple different ways that we can break a rectangle into fourths. One of the ways that we could do it would be to come right down the center. There's 2 pieces, and then right across the middle. And now I have 4 smaller rectangles. That's 4 pieces, so they are fourths. They are all the same size and shape. Another way that you could do it is if you come right down the middle here, and then middle here, and middle here. We have 4 rectangles that are all the same size and shape. Another way that we could do it is if we went across here like this, then we would have 4 long skinny rectangles. As long as you break up your rectangle into 4 equal size pieces, it will be correct. Okay, so just remember that halves are 2 pieces and quarters or fourths are 4 pieces. Okay. All right, looking at number 3, it says how many equal shares? Well, if we count these up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, equal shares is the same as same size parts. So our answer would be D. There are 4 same size parts or 4 equal shares. Okay, looking over at number 4, it says how many equal shares? I have 1, 2. So down here, we would circle B. There are 2 same size parts or equal shares. All right, let's look down at number 5. It says name the kind of shares. So it is a circle that has been broken into 2 equal size parts or 2 equal shares. So we know that equal shares, if there are 2 of them, are called halves. If you're not sure when you're taking your test which of these says halves and which of them says fourths, just use your smart reading brains. By now, you are almost second graders, and you are so good at sounding out and decoding words. So even if you don't know the entire word, you know many of the sounds it makes. So you can sound out here halves, halves, and fourths. So we know that this letter A says halves. So you should circle A. There are 2 equal sized parts. They are halves. Okay, and then looking at number 6, it says name the kind of shares. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know they are quarters or fourths. So again, sound out those words. Decide which one says fourths. In this case, it is B. So circle the letter B. When you are finished, you can flip to the other side of this page. Remember, at any moment, if I'm going too fast, you can pause the video. At the top of the next page here, we have number 7. And number 7 says, how many equal shares are in halves? Well, we've said it again and again and again. Halves is 2. So find the answer number 2 for halves, and it is B. There are 2 equal shares in halves. Number 8 now says, how many equal shares are in fourths? Well, that one's pretty easy because we hear the fourth right in its name. There are 4 equal shares in fourths, so circle D for number 4. All right, let's move on now to number 9. It says, Rebecca paints half of a rectangle poster. Mackenzie paints a fourth of a poster that is the same size. Who paints more? So you don't need to draw this out, but I'm going to draw it out just to help you put it in your mind. So it says they each have a poster, and their posters are the same size. Okay, so I'm going to draw 2 posters here that are the same size. And now it says Rebecca, so we'll put an R here for Rebecca. Rebecca paints half of the rectangle poster. So I'm going to cut it in half, and she paints 1 half, or 1 out of 2. Okay, so I'll color this in here quickly. You, again, don't have to draw this out at home. I'm drawing it for you. If this were the test and you wanted to draw it, you absolutely may. But for this, I'm just drawing it, so all you have to do is watch. Okay, so this is Rebecca's poster. Half of it is painted. And then it says Mackenzie paints a fourth of the poster that's the same size. So here's the same size poster. I'll put an M for Mackenzie. And this time, instead of breaking it into 2, which is halves, I'm going to break it into 4, which is fourths. And it says she paints 1/4 of the poster. And now the question that it's asking is, who paints more? Well, immediately, if I didn't know what we all know about halves and fourths, I would think, well, 4 pieces is bigger than 2 because 4 is the bigger number. But we know that we have to think about fractions differently. We have to say this isn't 4 pieces and 2 pieces. This is the same size poster broken into 2 pieces or broken into 4 pieces. And we know, like I've told you again and again and again, the more times you break something apart, the smaller the portions or pieces will be. So even though 4 is a bigger number than 2, we can see that half of the poster is bigger than 1/4 of the poster. So Rebecca paints more of her poster. So on the line for number 9, where it says who paints more, you can either write out her name, Rebecca, or you can just put an R to represent Rebecca. So if you want to write out Rebecca, you can. That is how you spell Rebecca. It's also right there at the top of the problem, or you can put an R for Rebecca. Either one I will accept. All right, I'm going to erase my whiteboard so that I can get ready to go over number 10 with you. Number 10 says, Rob reads 1/4 of a page in a book. Mario reads half of the same page. Who reads less of the page? Okay, so let's pretend for a moment that this is a page in a book, okay, and it's got words on it. La, la, la. Okay, now it says Rob reads 1/4. So if I were to take this page and break it into quarters, all right, like this would be 1/4 of the book. So Rob stopped reading right here. Okay, then it says Mario reads half of the same page. So if I were to just break it in half, it would be right here. So he read this much. So now, if I'm looking at the page, who read more, or I'm sorry, who read less, we got to pay attention to those words there, who read less? Well, Rob only read to here on the page. Mario read to here. So Mario read more, which means Rob read less. So on the line here, you can write R, or you can write out his name, R-O-B. Rob read less because he only read 1/4 of the page. Mario kept reading until he got halfway through the page. Okay? All right, looking at number 11, it says, which shape shows halves? Now, don't let them trick you. They're trying to trick you there because your mind automatically says 2 parts, that's halves, and A has 2 parts. So you might be thinking that's got to be the halves. But what we've also learned about halves is not only is it 2 parts, but they have to be the same size and shape. So it cannot be this one because they are different sizes and different shapes. It can't be B because we see that that's broken into fourths or quarters. So it must be here C. There are 2 halves to the circle. And they are the same size and the same shape. Okay. And the last one on your review, number 12, it says which 2, and 2 is written really big. That means you're going to pick 2 answers. If you only pick 1 answer, then it's not completely correct. So make sure you choose 2 answers. It says which 2 words describe the equal shares. So looking at this rectangle, it's broken into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So right off the get, I know when I hear 4, it's fourths. So I know I'm looking for one of my answers to say fourths. And I also know that another name for fourths is, do you remember what it is? If you said quarters, you're right. So I'm also going to be looking for the word quarters. So I want to find the answer that says fourths and the answer that says quarters. And if I look over here, letter A, I see fourths. So you can circle A. Okay. And then if I look here, it looks like C says quarters, so you can circle C. So for this answer, the 2 letters you should circle are A and C. Okay? So boys and girls, that concludes our math chapter review. Tomorrow, you will be taking your math chapter test. I'm fairly confident that you're going to do an excellent job on it. You've done really well on everything you've been turning into me so far in this chapter. So I wish you great luck on that. Make sure you go over this review a couple times tonight to help get it in your brain so that when you take that test tomorrow, you will know what you're doing without any trouble. Okay? We'll see you again soon. Bye.